Good morning, favorite students. We have a quiz coming up. So I thought it might be a really good thing to take some time and take some quiz notes, right? So I always suggest you have your own sheet of paper because when you're taking the quiz, it's a lot easier to have a sheet of paper off to the side because I get really suspicious when you keep opening up your Chromebook because I think you're doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing, like Googling the answers or writing mean things about me on my Instas. So hopefully that's not what we're doing. So I would grab a sheet of paper, writing implement, something like that. Pause the video right now. Go get what you need. Okay, here we go. So the first thing we're going to talk about, the first sets of things we're going to talk about is really vocabulary, because it turns out that a lot of what we're doing in this lesson is just vocabulary, and we want to really understand words. So what is a quotient? And we should know this because we just did division. But quotient, be ready to write, is the answer to a division problem, right? So when we're talking about quotients, let me give you some examples. So 10 divided by 2 equals 5. 5 is a quotient. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller because I can't write that small. 5 is the quotient there. And if we think about 18 divided by 3, 6 is the quotient there. So these are my quotients. These are my answers to division problems. Quotients. So what's a product then? What is a product? And a product is the answer to, I'm not playing Xbox right now, I should spell it right, is the answer to a multiplication problem. Multiplication problem. And again, these are all things that your fourth grade teacher should have taught you. Sometimes even things your third grade teacher should have taught you. So I'm just checking to make sure everybody knows these things. For example, 10 times 2 equals 20. 20 is my product. 4 times 5 also equals 20. 20 is my product, right? 20 is my product. Wow, my kids are doing something really loud in the background. We're just going to have to carry through. Okay, difference. Just going to highlight the whole thing. Difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. And again, let's just do, 13 minus 8 is 5. That's my difference, is 5. Or maybe 7 minus 0 equals 7. Remember, the answer to my subtraction problem is the difference. So if it says the difference of 7 and 0, the difference is 7. If it's the difference of 13 and 8, we're doing 13 minus 8, which is 5. Let's do one more different color. Sum is equals the answer to an addition problem. So again, we might say, 13 plus 8 equals 21 is my sum. Or, 7 plus 0, 7 would be my sum. So if I said something like, write an expression that shows the sum of 13 and 5 times a, or the product of 5 and a, the product of 5 and a is 5 times a, and the sum of 13 and the product of 5 and a is 13 plus 5 times a. So I would recommend you might want to pause the video because I'm going to delete all this stuff. And if you don't have all this written down, if you have things in here that you need to write down because you don't know them off the top of your head, this would be a good time to do that. Okay. Now let's talk about some of our new terms that we just learned this week and that we had never heard before today. So, a variable is any number we don't know, usually shown by a letter. So, some examples. If we had 5, I should actually be using a pen. If we had 5 times g, g is my variable. If we have a plus 7, a is my variable, right? If I have gamma, gamma divided by 2, then gamma is my variable. Variables. So there are numbers we don't know yet. Often we'll talk about like bags or boxes or owls or adults or children, or we don't know how many yet. It could be any number. So we're just using a letter as a placeholder. So a coefficient, let's think of the best way to describe this, is a number being multiplied by a variable, a number stuck to a variable. So again, let's look at some examples of variables or coefficients. So let's look at 5g. 5 is the coefficient. It's the number being multiplied by g. It's the number that's stuck to g. If we're looking at 3x, 3, again, is my coefficient. It's stuck to that x. And if I had 1/2 base times height, then 1/2 is my coefficient. It's the number that's stuck to the b, the base. So the coefficient is just that number that's being multiplied by a variable or that's stuck to a variable. And a term is a number or set of numbers usually separated by and minus. So if I had 5q plus 3n minus 2 plus 5, well, let's say 51y, then this is a term, this is a term, this is a term, and 51y is a term. In each case, even though some of these we have two numbers, 5 and q, 3 and n, 51 and y, they'll stuck together. That's a coefficient and a variable. So we count that as one term. We are one chunk. So the terms are the chunks of numbers. Chunks of numbers. Chunks of numbers. So that's the vocabulary bit. If you know what terms are, if you know what coefficients are, if you know what variables are, if you know your quotients, products, sums, and differences, you are going to do great on at least half of this quiz, right? So that's going to be, again, like half of the quiz. So hopefully you've been paying attention to the vocabulary things. So another skill I want to make sure you have is the ability to write an expression. Write an expression. So let's look at an example. So Tina has $55. She babysits and mows lawns to earn extra money. She gets paid 11 hours she babysits and $9 for every hour she mows lawns. Write an expression to show how much she has in total if she babysits for B hours and mows lawns for M hours. So they're not telling us exactly how many hours she babysits, but we know that she gets paid $11 for every hour. So 11 times B, or 11B, is how much she gets paid for babysitting, right? And 9 times M is how much she gets paid for mowing lawns. So if she mows lawns for M hours, she gets $9M. And if she owes 11, or if she babysits for, 10 hours or B hours, then she gets paid 11B dollars because it's 11 times B. If that's 10 hours, it's 11 times 10, which is $110, which is not bad. So some kids are going to be tempted to write 11B plus 9M and say that they're done. But this is not true. Remember, she already has $55. So we need the $55 as well. The cool thing is that order doesn't matter. You can write this in any order. You can write 55 plus 11B plus 9M. You could write 9M plus 11B plus 55. It doesn't matter. So it's the number of things times the variable. So example, she gets paid $11 for every hour she babysits. So it's $11 times the variable B plus what she has. So it's $11 times the variables. It's $9 times the variable plus what she has already. Okay? So that's how we write an algebraic expression. Now the last skill we have to figure out together, and again, pause the video if you need to write some stuff down because you haven't been. Hope you paused it in time. If not, you can always go back. Let's be honest, this isn't hard. So now we have this really difficult thing that we've got to do. We've got to evaluate an expression f times g minus h in parentheses. So evaluate means solve. And we look at that, and it's a problem, is that we don't know what any of the numbers mean. But fortunately, it tells us. So step one in evaluating an expression, one, is to write what the numbers are. So that's going to be 10, because f is equal to 10, times 7 minus 3. That's 1. Step 2 is to do the easiest step. What's the easiest thing we can do? I think the easiest thing we can do is 7 minus 3. So step 2, we would just do 7 minus 3, which is 4. And step 3 is finish solving. Sometimes you might need to do 1 or 2 or even 3 things in step 2. So maybe we should call that step easiest steps. So step 3 is 10 times 4, and 10 times 4 is 40. So each step, we're making it a little easier. First, we got rid of all those nasty variables. We know that f is 10, g is 7, h is 3. We did 7 minus 3 because it's in parentheses. We do that first. And then we did 10 times 4, which is 40. So these are all the skills that I'm going to ask you to do on the quiz. So hopefully you have all those figured out and you are ready to go. I will see you soon.